Hey everybody, this is Baylor. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to play with the British Open dataset. And you're probably wondering, like, where did you get this dataset? How'd you do that? Well, I scraped it from this site without permission. And the reason that's important is because that means that you're going to kind of figure out how to access this data yourself. It's really easy. You just need to play with Chrome. You can find it. That's perfect. The thing that I've already done is I've downloaded this data and it's put it into these 4 JSON files. If we peek into one of these JSON files inside of Chrome, what you'll notice is that it gives you like everything about this, like even pictures of it and everything like that. But we don't care about that. What we are interested in is data like this, like what's the weather, or hole 1 has a par 4, or you have the 5 rounds that have taken place so far, and we can see how each hole has done, right, per average. And so what we're going to do here is we want to pull this data out and push it into a Postgres database. And how do we do that? And the answer is simple. You write some Ruby. So what we do is we have required active record, we've established a Postgres database connection, we've defined our overall schema here, and so we have like rounds and holes and hole weathers. This is the correct way to spell weather plural. And then what we do is we read these JSON files, we pull out the information that we care about, and then we push this data into a database table. And we do that for all 4 JSON files. And so once you've done this, once you have found these JSON files on their site, then you can run this Ruby script and you are good to go. So what I'm going to do is run it. Alright, so this is finished, and you can see there's a lot of output here because I set it to log everything. And so this lets you know that it's working, and you can kind of see some of the table names, things like that, things you might not care about, but you'll need to know. So what we need to do now is we need to run Hasura. And Hasura has documentation that will tell you that you can run it inside of a Docker container like so. And so that's actually how I'm going to do this. And the only thing to point out is that I'm running Postgres on this Mac. And so what I've done is I've told my Docker container to use my Macintosh's Postgres. And that's just something that this took me a while to find. Maybe you'll find it helpful. So I'll run this, and you can see it gives us a container ID. And now we can open our localhost at port 8080. And so once this loads, you can see that we have our Hasura GraphQL interface. And you're probably wondering, like, well, what do I have here? And if we browse the docs, you can see we've got nothing but Kiss. And you're thinking, I thought Hasura used Postgres, and you are right, it does. If we go to the data tab, you can see it finds all of our tables. And the tables that we're going to look at first is, let's take a look at this players table. So we'll click track, and if we go back to graphical and we start a query, if we look, we have this players. And if we try out like first name, last name, you can see that we get the list of all the players. And one of the columns here is 2 par. And this 2 par is their overall ranking in the entire game. And as you can see right now, it's sort of descending, or is this ascending, I guess. But it's not perfect because like there's a -2 in the middle here. And so what we can do, this is where Hasura just like blows my mind. We can come in here and we can adjust our query just like we would with SQL. So we can say I want to order this by that 2 par ascending. And what you'll notice here is that now we're getting the actual overall position of each of these players. This to me is just awesome because what we're doing here looks just like SQL, and yet we're getting it back in a beautiful JSON structure that is done with GraphQL. And so what we'll do next is, how do we join? Because that's what relational databases are excellent at. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to our data tab, and I'm interested in the average number of putts per player. So if we track this table, you'll notice it has this player ID on it. And so what that means is that if we go back to our data tab and we go to the bottom, you'll notice it has these foreign key relations where we can go from average number of putters to the player and from players to the average number of putts. And so we'll track both of these. And now if we hop back over to graphical and we come down, you'll notice that if I start typing an average number of putts, I can see this and we can put in the value. And what this is doing is it is showing us for each player their average number of putts, and it's per round. We can't see what the round is, right? So what we'll do is we'll hop over, we'll go to rounds and track this, and we'll go back to our data tab, and we'll say that we want to track from our average number of putts to the rounds. And we'll just track all because it's a lot easier to do it that way. And so now if we go back to graphical and we're on this average number of putts, we can look at the round and we can say, I want to see the number. And so we can see now that we have the average number of putts per round. what I want to do is I want to show the newest round first. We can come up here and we can add an order by, and I want to actually order by the round number descending. And what I also want to do is say I want to limit this to just the top two. And so now you can see that we're still ordering by our 2 par, but then we're also grabbing the average putts from the last 2 rounds. I mean, it's nuts. This is something that would be incredibly complicated to do in SQL. It would take a lot of work, and here we're writing just plain GraphQL, and it just works. So something else I want to do is this is showing us the average number of putts for this particular player on this particular round. But I would like to see is on this round, what's the average number of putts overall against all the players? And so what we'll do is we'll hop over to our round and we're going to pull out that average number of putts aggregate. And what we're going to do is pull on this aggregate the average value. And what this is going to do is you can see now that Shane Lowry, who has a current score of -15 on round 5, had a average number of putts of 2. The competition had an average of 163. So something else that we can do is, as you can see, we can order by nested values. But what we can also do is we can say, I want to order by an aggregate. So we'll come down to the average number of putts aggregate, and we want to look at the average value ascending. And now you can see is Zach Johnson has the lowest average number of putts against the entire board, and he's usually quite a bit less than everyone else. So something you're probably wondering is like, well, what does this query look like? Like, how many queries is this generating? And if we analyze it, you'll notice that it's only one massive query. It reminds me a lot of LINQ, if you're familiar with Entity Framework and C#. It is very similar, and because of that, I think it's probably okay, because if Microsoft can do it with LINQ, then surely we can do it with Hasura, right? So I think for the amount of power that we get with this, it is worth the sacrifice when you're starting out. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.